Hey, what is up, people? How's it going? I'm Rapal, and I'm a medical student. Today, what we're going to be covering is first off, we're going to understand what a virus is, and we're going to briefly go over our breathing system, which is known as the respiratory system, and history of coronavirus, and also the structure of coronavirus. But before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to the frontliners that are committed and that are risking their lives to serve the people who are in need. And I would also like to encourage the people who are currently fighting the battle against coronavirus. And just know this, I know it's tough, but there are many people that have fought it off already. And you will be the next person to defeat coronavirus and then go back to your family. Alright, now let's get started. First off, what is a virus? Virus is something that we call a microscopic organism. And what that means is that it is so tiny that you have to visualize a virus through a microscope. And the fun fact, coronavirus looks like a crown under a microscope. And in Latin, corona means crown, thus giving it the name of coronavirus. The viruses are called an obligate intracellular parasite. Now, what this big word basically means is that they cannot survive themselves. They have to be within our body, or cats, or dogs, or bats to live. By itself, it cannot survive. Now let's compare a virus to a car to better understand it. For a car to work, it needs fuel as energy, right? Without fuel, car is pretty much useless. Just like that, virus needs fuel as well. And the way it gets access to that fuel is by being within our body, within ourselves. And if it's outside our body, if it's on a piece of paper or cardboard or plastic or whatever, it's useless. It's gonna die. It cannot survive. Now, if we compare a virus to a bacteria can actually survive on its own, and it doesn't need to be in our body to stay alive. And it's also, bacteria is much bigger than a virus. All right. Now, moving on to the history of coronavirus. So you guys probably think that coronavirus is a new type of virus, right? But that's actually incorrect. Coronavirus has actually been around for many years, and it infects humans every year. There's a good amount of people that actually catch cold due to coronavirus every year. So why is this coronavirus special? Because this coronavirus actually comes from animal and is believed to be originated from bats. Now, before we proceed further, let's take a quick look how our breathing works in our body. Our breathing is done by our respiratory system, and our respiratory system can be divided into two parts: upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. The upper respiratory tract consists of nasal cavity, pharynx, and larynx. And if we get an infection in our upper respiratory system, we have symptoms like cough, runny nose, and sneezing. Now, if we look at lower respiratory tract, and what it's made of is trachea, bronchi, and lungs. Now, if this is infected, if the lower respiratory system is infected, it gets a bit more serious. Then we have symptoms like pneumonia and shortness of breath. Why? Because our lower respiratory system it has lungs, and if lungs are not functioning well, if there's something wrong with the lungs, we cannot get oxygen. So that's why we have a hard time breathing if lower respiratory system is infected. Now, let's get back to human coronavirus and animal coronavirus. The big difference between these two is that human coronavirus can live within 33 to 35 degrees Celsius. That is 91.4 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is the temperature of upper respiratory system. And now, as we make our way down to the lower respiratory system, the temperature starts getting a bit warmer. And there's this point called carina where the lungs divide to left and right. Now, around 5 centimeters after carina, the temperature of lungs start catching up to our body's temperature, which is 37 degrees Celsius, and that's 99 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the reason why this concept is important is because coronavirus, like the animal coronavirus, that can survive in this temperature and cause lower respiratory symptoms like pneumonia and shortness of breath, like we were talking earlier. Now, if we compare this to the human coronavirus causes upper respiratory symptoms. Why? Because it cannot survive. As we make our way down to the lower respiratory system, the temperature gets hotter and the virus dies. So the human coronavirus will only cause symptoms like cough, runny nose, and sneezing. And so far there has been 3 outbreaks of coronavirus related to animal coronavirus. All of them are believed to be originated from bats. The first outbreak happened in 2002 in China, and that was termed SARS-CoV. The second outbreak occurred in Middle East in 2012, and that has been termed MERS-CoV. Now the last one is what we're experiencing right now, and it also originated in China, and this one is termed SARS-CoV-2. Now, before we proceed, let's get familiar with the terms related to coronavirus. The virus itself is called SARS-CoV-2, and now the SARS, SARS, stands for Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, and the CoV stands for coronavirus, and the 2 stands for 2. The first one was the one that happened in 2002. And now the disease that it causes is called COVID-19. COVID basically stands for coronavirus disease 19, and 19 just the 19 represents the year 2019, because that's when it was found. That's when it was detected. Now, moving on to the structure of coronavirus. Firstly, we have viral genetic material, and that is a positive sense single-strand RNA. Let's take a step back. Just like our cells have genetic code, and that is DNA, viruses also have genetic material. Some have DNA and some have RNA. Coronavirus happens to be an RNA virus. And the positive sense, remember how I said the genetic material is positive sense single-strand RNA? The positive sense basically means that when the virus enters our cells, it could start copying itself, starts replicating itself right away. But if it was a negative sense, that means that negative sense would first had to be converted to positive sense and then continue on. And the single strand basically means it's just one strand, and it's not a double strand like our DNA. Our DNA is double strand. There are also some viruses that have double strand RNA, but not coronavirus. It has a single strand RNA. Now, sheltering this genetic material, we have a capsid, something known as capsid. Basically, the job of capsid is to protect and shelter the genetic material. And together, these two combined are called nucleocapsid. And now, covering the nucleocapsid, we have an envelope. And within the envelope, there's a nucleus and a capsid. And if the envelope is destroyed, the virus cannot survive. And something that destroys an envelope is alcohol. That's why hand sanitizers are effective in killing coronavirus. Then lastly, we have the proteins covering the viral envelope. There are 3 proteins that cover the envelope, and those are the M protein, the E protein, and the S protein. And the S protein has a very crucial function, a very important function in terms of how the virus enters our body. This S protein, think of this S protein like a hook. Now, there are certain cells in our body that this S protein could latch onto. And once it latches onto some of these cells, our cells basically welcome in the virus, and then from there, once the virus enters our body, enters the cell, it starts doing its job, which is to starts copying itself and it starts replicating itself. That is pretty much it for today, and I hope this was valuable to you guys. And if you guys are confused about anything, just make sure you guys leave down a comment below. I will try my best to clear your confusion. And that is it for right now. See you guys on the next one. Later. Oh, and quick thing. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share it with a friend if it was valuable. But see you guys later.